You and your family are going to pay for sharing this formula. Those were the last words I heard before the mysterious voice at the end of the line hung up on me. It was half an hour past midnight, and my wife and kids were sleeping in their rooms. I sat there, on the edge of the bed, clutching my phone like I wanted to smash it. It was that moment when I started regretting everything. I regretted going against a billion-dollar empire and creating the only natural hearing loss solution no one else had the courage to make. The all-natural, side-effect-free formula that can restore anyone's hearing in a matter of weeks without expensive surgery, dangerous pills, and without paying a single visit to the doctor. With an astonishing 96,623 success stories, and counting. I regretted putting my family in danger, even though I was warned several times to take this video down. In fact, this is the 4th time I'm uploading it, and this time it pushed the wrong buttons. So now, they're out to get me. But the cat is out of the bag now, and they can't put it back, because they can't stop me and they can't stop the success stories coming in. All they can do is watch desperately how this formula obliterates their filthy yearly bonuses and outrageous vacations made on the backs of suffering people. Because this is the safe and natural hearing loss formula that shook the $8.4 billion hearing industry to its very core, and for a very short period of time is available right here on this page. Hi, I'm Dr. Richard Mather, and this video right here is the one and only key that you've been searching for so long. The key to getting your hearing back naturally. 18 months ago, I discovered a weird method that can restore your hearing in a matter of weeks. So far, it's already helped 96,623 people, and counting, who are now free of wearing hearing aids or going through painful surgeries. Here are some of their incredible stories. Marlene Gretchen, a 58-year-old retired teacher from Ohio, says, "This video came exactly when I needed it the most. You spared me of a very expensive and very complicated cochlear implant. I haven't been this happy for years. I thought I'd never hear this well ever again." Julian Gant, a father of 3 from Texas, sent us his story too. "I watched your video and tried the formula, and my hearing got better than it's ever been. I'm off the hearing aid finally. Thank you for sharing this. You keep tough and keep spreading the word." Harry Brent, a contractor from Washington, says, "Okay, so I was kind of skeptical about this method at first because I'd never heard about it before. But I'm so glad I gave it a try. In a few weeks, I could hear with my right ear for the first time in 4 years. It's mind-blowing how this thing works. Indeed, the way this works is incredible. All you need is less than a minute a day and this glass of water, and you'll start improving your hearing even as you sleep. That's it. I know it sounds unbelievable, and I don't expect you to believe me yet. But if you want to relieve yourself from the shame, stress, anxiety, and depression that has taken over your life, then this website is the place to be. Because in 3 minutes, I'm going to unveil the details of this formula and how you can use it at home to restore your hearing safe and naturally. So watch this video carefully and start taking notes, because it's about to change your world. But I must warn you, the influential people who want this video down now, the ones that have been making my life a nightmare for over a year, they would stop at nothing to make sure this natural solution doesn't reach your ears. So I urge you to watch this video now until the end, or it may not be here when you try to come back. I'm just a humble man working against a powerful billion-dollar hearing industry. And ever since I created this natural solution, the companies that live off hearing aids and cochlear implants have been constantly sabotaging my work. It's only normal they don't want people to know about this dirt-cheap solution that you only need to use once instead of stuffing their pockets with thousands of dollars over and over again. Yet, I never imagined they would stoop so low, that they would threaten not only me and my family, but also my colleagues, respected scientists and doctors who offered to help me spread the word about this amazing natural treatment. The story I'm about to tell you right here is 100% real, even though the web of lies, corruption, blackmail, and power abuse that I had to fight against may seem unbelievable. And I should know better than anyone, because not many years ago, I was working for the billion-dollar hearing industry, not against them. Before I discovered this simple, natural method that can restore your hearing loss, I used to be the best cochlear implant surgeon in the area. I mastered these complicated inner ear interventions so well that people would line up in front of my practice just to get on the waiting list. And I was very proud of it. At that point, I had the impression I was helping people as much as I could, sparing them from wearing those horrible hearing aids. You know, whenever I asked people why they choose to get surgery instead of wearing a hearing aid, they always complained about how uncomfortable and embarrassing it was to wear one. I wore one myself for about a week, just to see how my patients felt. And that's when I truly understood the shame and irritation that people have gone through every single day. Besides the constant discomfort, I felt so embarrassed by people's looks and mean comments. It was like this tiny little device instantly condemned me to humiliation. But here's my huge mistake that I will probably regret my whole life. After trying out all the methods my patients were using so I can understand their problems better, instead of looking for a new solution that could give them back their hearing without going through a cochlear implant, I simply chose to believe even more firmly that my surgical method was the best way to get crystal clear hearing again. Back then, I had absolutely no clue there was, in fact, a way to restore hearing loss safely, naturally, without any sort of invasive intervention. I didn't even think it was possible. If anyone had told me they can solve hearing loss with a natural formula based on an extraordinary scientific discovery that repairs your inner ear from the inside out in just a few weeks, I would have laughed my ears off. Scientific discovery for a natural solution? If that was true, I would have already found out about it, right? Without any false modesty, I am one of the most passionate doctors in my specialty. I religiously read all the most important medical publications, I go to conferences, I talk to my patients about their problems, and I try to do my work as well as I can. So imagine my shock when I realized that all this time, the research that proved such an unusual method was possible was banned from all major medical publications and hidden from the eyes of doctors for years. All that time, I was actually just a peon in the hearing industry scheme. While I thought I was keeping myself well informed and one step ahead of everyone else, I was simply led on a path already established by the powerful people running the industry. These people and their companies decide what studies get published and which ones are banned depending on how much they could hurt their profits. They also decide which products are allowed on the market and which ones get pushed out by any means possible. And I'm talking from experience here, because once I discovered the huge secret they were trying to suppress, all hell broke loose. It all started on a very early Monday morning when I witnessed the weirdest thing right in my office. At 8 a.m., I'd just arrived at my practice when I saw a man lying down in the corridor waiting for me to open. As I got closer to him, I noticed something very strange. He was crying. He was sobbing so hard, his face was all covered in tears. I leaned over as close as I could and asked him what happened. He told me he'd just lost his job due to his hearing loss. I knew how frightening it is to lose hearing. I had patients coming every day terrified at the perspective of being deaf for the rest of their lives. I assured him we'd figure it out together and asked him nicely to come into my office so I could check his ears. He wiped his tears off with the sleeve of his jacket, grabbed onto my arm to pull himself up, and that's when the strangest thing happened. He looked dead into my eyes and told me, "Doctor, you don't understand. I don't want surgery. If you operate on me, I die. You have to find something else for me." In all my years of experience as a cochlear implant surgeon, I've never heard anyone ask me not to operate on them. Turns out, he had a heart condition that prevented him from receiving any surgery, no matter what part of his body or how minor. Yet he was in desperate need of one. His hearing had been fading away for years and nothing seemed to work for him. He'd tried every method out there. He went to different doctors, took pills, wore a hearing aid, got acupuncture, tried Chinese herbal drops. He even tried treatments almost no one knows they exist, and still his hearing got worse and worse by the day. Now I was his last resort, and I felt like I'd been thrown right between the devil and the deep blue sea. On one hand, if I told him there was nothing I could do for him, I would crush him to pieces. He was already lower than rock bottom, and I wasn't going to make it even worse. On the other hand, if I told him I'd help him hear again with some magical method I hadn't found yet, I would lie to his face, and that would lead to even more disappointment. So I promised him I would do my best to find a way of improving his hearing without the surgery. "You think you could do it, doctor?" he asked me while his eyes kept staring at a spot on the floor. "Even if it's the last thing I do," I said as confidently as I could under such circumstances. The sparkle of hope that lit up in his eyes is something I will never forget. In fact, that look was what kept me working ceaselessly, searching for this strange, natural method to restore your hearing despite all the obstacles in my way. It was the look of a man who put all his trust in me, and I wasn't going to betray that trust. Little did I know the challenge I had taken on was going to lead me to an amazing discovery. The first and only natural solution that has so far restored hearing loss in 96,623 people from all across the world, and that number is growing by the day. Now, I can't take all the credit for it, and I didn't do it all by myself. I'm a hearing specialist, but problems linked to hearing loss such as headaches, memory loss, brain fog, and poor eyesight are out of my expertise. I needed help with this one, so I emailed the one person I trusted could find a solution to this mystery. It was a professor I met at a conference in Minnesota a few years back, a genius scientist who worked for a high-profile university. He won awards for his research and ran his own lab in Connecticut. The next day, I got a call from him. I answer and I hear this high-pitched, aggressive voice. "Look, I don't know what your deal is, but there's nothing I want to comment on this subject, okay? There's nothing you can take away from me. I already lost everything." I was shocked. I had no idea what this guy was talking about. I started blabbering, telling him about my patient's problems and excusing myself for whatever it was I said wrong. I think that was the first time in my life when blabbering actually helped me. It was so obvious I had no clue what was going on that he instantly stopped ranting. His voice suddenly melted down into this exhausted tone, and he simply said, "Can you meet me?" Of course, I said, yes. I couldn't wait to find out what happened, even though, in all honesty, I was equally freaked out and excited at the same time. I had to take a train for 3.5 hours, but the journey really started the moment I got to the train station and jumped into a taxi. That's when it all got very weird. The taxi went through the beautiful city center with the speed of light, then passed through suburbs and small neighborhoods. And finally, after what seemed like a lifetime, it stopped into a creepy ghost town-looking industrial area filled with decaying buildings. I thought, okay, that's it for me. That's what I get, meeting with this man under such strange circumstances. I got out of the taxi running worst-case scenarios in my head on fast forward, and then I saw him waiting for me on a rusty bench just a few feet away. He had black circles under his eyes like he hadn't slept in weeks. I didn't say a word. I just sat down next to him in complete silence and waited for him to say something. Anything. He said, "Thank you for coming to see me." And then, with a robotic voice drained of any trace of life, he started telling me the most shocking story I've ever heard. Back in 2012, he was one of the most renowned scientists in America. He had 6 patents for life-saving inventions, and he had just started an in-depth research on blood flow to the brain. He wanted to find out how blood flow regulates brain health, but instead, he discovered something even more extraordinary. He noticed that a person's ability to hear was directly influenced by the amount of blood reaching their inner ears. The lower the flow, the worse the hearing. He decided to follow this lead with more tests and clinical studies, and he discovered that blood flow was in fact responsible for any type of hearing loss, whether it's caused by aging, loud noises, or an ear infection. I'll explain to you exactly how this happens in plain English. You see, your ear is made up of 3 parts: external, middle, and inner ear. The part responsible for your hearing is the inner ear. That's where you have over 15,000 tiny little cells called hair cells because they look exactly like hair strains. These little receptors grab noises from your environment and turn them into electrical waves so your brain can decode them into specific sounds. Now here's the mind-blowing part. Scientists have long discovered that hearing loss happens when these little hair cells start dying. The fewer cells you have to capture the sounds around you, the less you hear. It's all logical up to here. But what scientists hadn't figured out was why these cells die in the first place. So instead of investing into finding out the root cause of this major problem and finding a permanent solution for it, companies took over the research to serve their own interests. They started inventing hearing aids and medication that doesn't prevent these hair cells from dying, but just slows down hearing loss for a while, keeping you hooked to their so-called treatments for the rest of your life. On the other hand, my scientist friend decided to go against the massive billion-dollar industry and publish his amazing discovery. The study proved that hair cells die because of a low blood flow to the inner ear. But to his surprise, he was struck by the unanimous refusal of all major medical publications. His research could eventually help millions of people, and yet the most popular journals stated they weren't interested. One single publication agreed to publish his work. It was a closed-circle independent medical magazine that had no more than 200 subscriptions. Still, not even 24 hours after the magazine came out, his phone rang in the middle of the night and a threatening voice echoed through the speaker. "Pull out of the study or you can kiss your lab goodbye." What a strange prank call to make, he thought. But just 2 days later, he went to work only to discover that someone had broken into his lab and wrecked it. All his life's work was gone. Everything was literally turned into dust, destroyed beyond repair. And they didn't stop there. To make sure he never told a soul about what happened, lawyers started harassing him with lawsuit threats, and they even put his family under constant surveillance. They used every method in the book to harass the poor man and make him break down. And they succeeded. This once prolific, successful researcher was now merely the shadow of his former self. His promising career was cut off at its peak, and worst of all, he was terrified to even show himself in public. Given these conditions, I couldn't blame him that he'd given up on his research, even if his work could have saved millions of lives, including yours. However, I wasn't going to let things end there. Not when I could use my 14 years of experience as a hearing specialist to take his research to the next level. Now, I'm no superhero or anything, I'm just as human as he is, and I was scared of what might happen to me if I continued his work. But there was something that pulled me forward, helping me fight my fear. It was shame. I was so ashamed of myself that I just couldn't go back to the lie I'd been living in. I used to take so much pride in my work as a surgeon, but actually what I did was putting people through a costly and painful intervention. Finally, I now had all the data I needed to start working on a better, simpler solution, and I was ready to put in 24/7 to see it come true. All I needed was the scientist's approval to use his work. He agreed, but not without warning me that without $1 million lab and a great team of scientists to help me out, there was no way I could pull that off. What he didn't know, however, was that I didn't plan on creating some high-tech treatment that would take 15 years to get approved by the FDA and that would cost people thousands of dollars. I was dead set on finding a method that anyone could have instant access to, no matter the age, budget, or health status. Now, where could I find a solution that anyone could get almost for free, fast, and safely without any side effects to worry about? The only thing I could think of was finding a natural way to enhance blood flow to the ear and restore hearing loss safe and naturally. At that point, I didn't know if it was even possible or if it was just a pipe dream I was having. I needed facts, proof, and hard numbers to decide if it was a road worth pursuing or I should start looking for something else. So, I sunk myself into research 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. Surprisingly, there were plenty of foods, herbs, oils, and even drinks that could stimulate blood flow. But there was a catch. There was no study or clinical trial to show me which ones of these natural ingredients increased blood flow to the inner ear, which left me with the incredibly complex and exhausting task of testing every single one of them and see which ones could help with the hearing and which ones don't. All I knew was that there were 38 ingredients that might just save millions of people's hearing. That's it. So I decided to take one small step at a time. I started with just one of these millions. George Fryer, the patient that came into my practice begging me to give him his hearing back without a surgery. I called him in and explained everything that had happened. I told him about my meeting with the scientist, I showed him the research he'd done, I explained to him how blood flow could make him hear better than ever before. I even tried to draw him a sketch. He sat on the chair quietly, barely breathing. He waited patiently for me to finish the entire round of explanations and medical details, and when I finally stopped nearly 2 hours later, he jumped up like he was on springs, clapped his hands, and asked me, "When do we start?" He was so thrilled, he came back to my office the very next day, and we started the first round of tests. Every day he had to try one of the super ingredients so we could select the ones that could stimulate blood flow to the inner ear. In that month, we had to carefully adjust the quantities for each one of the ingredients, even on the most powerful ones. And George's hearing was already improving. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. Step 2 was to mix these ingredients together in over 52 combinations to see which ones boosted each other to work faster and better on the hair cells inside the ear. Each day I would test his hearing, write down his personal observations, and select which ingredients worked and which didn't. Some ingredients had amazing effects in very little time. Some slowed down the degeneration he had been experiencing overnight, but then there were others which stopped the improvements altogether. It was months before we could find the most efficient and steady formula to enhance blood flow and get the results we were hoping for. I remembered how, every time we tested a combination that worked wonders, we tried to curb each other's enthusiasm so as to avoid the later disappointment when the results just faded away. Many effects which started out positive eventually turned out to be temporary. So when we discovered a formula that continuously improved hearing, we decided to stop everything else and focus on it for a while. We kept detailed track of every single little change, even the slightest improvement or setback, and, as they say, we were hoping for the best but expecting the worst. However, the dreaded worst-case scenario never came true. Soon after we started testing this formula, George's right ear, the one he could barely hear a thing with, reached a point where he could hear and understand the TV in the background at half the volume he had needed before. Then he could go through conversations without a hearing aid, just by leaning in a little more than usual. Then, something amazing happened. I asked him to come to my office so we could run the regular tests as always, but when I got the first results, I just stared at them for minutes. It all seemed unreal. It couldn't be happening. I shook my head and told him, "We need more tests." I ended up running 8 different hearing tests on him, and the results were clear as daylight. His hearing loss was totally restored in just a few weeks with this natural treatment. I showed him the results after what had to be the longest hour of his life, and when I told him the news, his eyes instantly filled with tears. The man who not long ago was begging me to give him his hearing back, the same person who suffered from headaches and vertigo, was now a brand new man. "You found the solution to hearing loss. You're writing history," he told me. But the truth is, I was far from it. Just because one person restored their hearing so fast thanks to this natural formula did not mean it was a universal solution. I explained to him that it would take a lot more testing on a lot more people to know whether this was indeed the formula everyone had been waiting for. It could be years before I might round up enough people to get a clear result. I'd have to quit my job and start looking for participants, and who knows if I could even make it. And that's when he did something extraordinary. I was already going into a pessimistic rant with panic taking over like clouds before a storm, so he stopped me in the middle of my phrase and, without even flinching for a second, he simply said, "Great, let's start with my wife and we'll see from there." As I was to discover, his wife was also slowly losing her hearing. However, she could hear much better than George had been able to, so it took us a lot less time to see the first results with her. Soon, her hearing had improved, and it wasn't just the tests showing it. She could lower the volume on the TV and on her computer. She was part of conversations with her colleagues at work again. And she could hear her husband snoring again, which wasn't necessarily the best part, but it was undoubtedly a huge improvement in her hearing. In just a few weeks, she had better hearing than she did before the problem started. In fact, only a handful of people in the world have such perfect hearing as she does now. That was a huge step forward, which gave me enough confidence to try giving my formula to all my patients, watching closely to see if they had the same results. I thought most of them would probably throw out the instructions anyway. Not many people would trust trying a brand new natural treatment tested on only 2 people. In just a few weeks, the success stories started piling up. 82 people that had improved their hearing. Here are some of the emails I got. Travis Lumpel, a man who worked on an airport for 30 years and lost his hearing due to the noise, wrote me, "I am writing this while listening to the news in the background. I can actually hear what the reporters are saying. I never thought that could happen again. I've been on pills and hearing aids for nearly 8 years now. After using this formula, my hearing is already getting better. It's incredible." Joanna Fett also left me this message about her husband Frank. She says, "I can't thank you enough for this treatment. It worked wonders. Frank is happy for the first time since we last saw his doctor. He was scheduled for surgery and he was so terrified of it, he wouldn't sleep at night. This formula was exactly what he needed. You should see him now listening to music in the den. You're truly his hero." And for the next 2 weeks, the emails and calls kept coming. Here's one from Clara Hart, who started losing her hearing at 53 and was too embarrassed to admit it to anyone. "I hated wearing a hearing aid. I felt so old and useless, but I was also scared of surgery. So thank God you gave me this formula. It's my 17th day today, and I can hear my neighbors fighting next door. I've never been this thrilled to hear people fighting in my life. You are a genius, doctor." And then, all of a sudden, these kinds of messages started to show up. The formula is brilliant. You have to share it with others. It's so good, why don't you publish it somewhere? You should make it public ASAP. I was sitting there reading those messages with my eyes popping out of my head. I was so worked up in my patient's results, I didn't even think of the when, where, and how of the next step. How could I get this formula to everyone in need so they could finally get rid of their irritating hearing aids, that horrific medication that gives them headaches and nausea, and even the complicated cochlear implant I used to do for a living? I don't have $1 million advertising budget like those high-profile medical companies in the hearing industry. So I called some of my colleagues, hearing specialists just like me, and I showed them my research, the formula, and the results of almost 100 people who'd restored their hearing. Some of them said no, but most of them were very excited and agreed to share it with their patients. Now here's the strange thing that happened. Just a few days after talking to my colleagues, one of them called me late at night. Usually he's the friendliest, kindest person in the world. Now he skipped the usual, "Hey there, how you doing?" and started barking at me right away. "What did you get me into, Richard? Someone called to sue me for giving your formula to my patients. I talked to Dr. Peterson too. He said he got the same call today. Seems that everyone who got the formula is under fire now. What's going on?" I instantly thought of the formerly renowned scientist who lost his job, his lab, and his dignity because of these sharks. The first thing I did was ask my colleagues to stop spreading the formula. I didn't want them to risk their careers because of me. On the other hand, there was no way I was going to back down and let these people win. I had to find another way to make the formula public without putting anyone in danger. I knew that in order for this to work, the ingredients had to come from specific places and the recipe needed to be 100% pure. So after weeks of researching, I found the right company to help me produce it. An independent lab whose owner was actually turned against a billion-dollar pharma empire. I had the formula and knew how it works, so all I needed to do was make sure the ingredients were properly sourced, keeping the same high quality. To be honest, that was the most difficult part. Because the problem with this industry is that there are a lot of folks out there just trying to profit off of your goodwill. People trying to make a quick buck who don't care about quality ingredients. I searched in every corner of the world until I found the right ingredients. I only wanted to work with certified manufacturers to make sure that we get top quality ingredients. It was an excruciating job. It took me several weeks, but we finally did it. I almost burst into tears when I held the formula in my hands. I called it Sonufix, the ultimate natural formula for improving your hearing, starting today without any dangerous surgery, expensive hearing aids, and no dietary restrictions. So far, 96,623 people and counting have used my formula, and I am yet to see a person complaining about the results. I don't mean to brag or anything, I'm just extremely happy that so many people got a chance to live a better life thanks to this formula. The instructions are especially designed to be easy to follow, time-saving, and comfortable. And in case you have any questions, you have an entire team of experts ready to guide you through the program any time of the day or night. I did all of this for you so you can rest assured you simply cannot get anything wrong. I made sure it's as simple as possible for you to get your hearing back 100% naturally, easily, and quickly. And that's why it was so hard to put a price on it. Because for me, it's more about spreading the word than it is about the money. But unfortunately these days, even sharing a revolutionary method like this one doesn't come free. Putting together a system, making the website, spreading it on the internet, and even putting aside some money just in case we'll ever have to fight those people who are so desperately trying to get the formula removed off the internet, all these things are expensive. To be honest, at first I had no idea how to proceed. So I asked help from my family, friends, and patients who have already tried it to give me their honest opinion about its worth. Mrs. Neville, my patient who finally recovered her hearing after 20 long years of struggle, told me she'd pay $400 on the spot. And she doesn't have even that kind of money to spend. And my wife's best friend who started losing her hearing at 35 actually offered to pay us $350 and apologized for not being able to pay us more. Of course we didn't take the money. Instead, I decided to set the price closer to the lower limit. After crunching the numbers, I decided on $150. This way, anyone can afford to try the formula and treat their hearing loss naturally and fast in just a matter of weeks. But my wife, being the thoughtful person that she is, reminded me of the dark reality of hearing loss. People suffering from it have spent so much on hearing aids and medication already that they may not be able to afford to pay even $150. So I decided to take it slow. I set the minimum price to keep this website up and invest the lowest amount possible to share this message. So today, you can finally get your hearing back and get access to this incredible formula for a small amount of $69. And I'm going to do something even better. Our manufacturing partner gave us permission to offer a discount on the 6-bottle package of Sonufix. You can get them for only $49 per bottle, and you also get free shipping for as long as supplies last. Once we run out of stock, which will probably happen very soon, we won't be able to offer any more discounts. So make the right decision for you and your family and click on the 6-bottle package or any other package you want and secure your Sonufix order now. Once you fill the form and complete your order, we'll immediately start preparing your package and rush it to your door. So I urge you, don't waste another second. It's your right and your duty to give it a try. Select the 3-bottle package or any other package you want and hit the buy button now. The checkout process is 100% tested for safety, encrypted with the same system used by the biggest banks in the world, and the process is fully transparent so you know where your money goes at all times. You have full control over it. All you need to do is select your package and hit the button below. Right now, this formula costs less than a regular checkup with your doctor. And it definitely costs less than the ingredients needed to make the formula at home without spending any extra money on hearing aids or dangerous drugs. All 100% safe and natural. Now, I completely understand if you've grown skeptical about any so-called breakthrough solution that pops on the market out of the blue. You've probably already paid an arm and a leg for treatments that turned out to be useless. And I understand and respect that. So I'm going to do something that no doctor or pharma company will do for you. Just to show you how confident I am that this formula will work for you. When you order Sonufix, you get my 60-day ironclad money-back guarantee that protects your investment while you give this natural solution a try. If during this period you decide this product is not for you, just send me an email and I'll return every penny back. I'm absolutely confident this formula will blow you off your feet with its amazing results. Now I need to warn you once again, you need to act fast. Tomorrow or the next day, when the phone rings, I might be forced to take this page down. Sure, I'll be able to fight the fat cats in courts for a while, but that won't be for long. I don't know anyone that can go against a multi-billion-dollar industry and win. So go ahead and select your package while it's still here. I guarantee you'll never find anything like this elsewhere. If you're eager to hear your children's voice again, to watch TV without having neighbors yell at you to turn the volume down, or listen to your favorite music again, then get Sonufix right now. And if you want to have normal conversations with your friends and family without being embarrassed to ask everyone to repeat themselves over and over again, then click on the Buy Now button now. You don't even have to think it through. You're not risking anything thanks to my 60-day money-back guarantee, so you just have to give it a try. That's all. In a few weeks, you can finally throw that horrible hearing aid in the bottom of a drawer and forget you ever had to wear it. You can stop fearing that there will come a day when you'll lie on a hospital bed, waiting for a doctor to cut your ear open so you can hear again. You've got a natural, simple way to get your hearing back crystal clear. This is your chance to get your life back, and it's one click away. Just press the order button below, and in 60 seconds, you'll be on your way to getting back what you've been longing to for years. I'm confident that you'll make the best decision for you and your loved ones, and you'll get Sonufix now while it's still available. Select your package now, try the formula, and for any questions, I am right here for you. I'll be more than happy to hear from you soon when your hearing loss will be history and you will be enjoying every amazing sound around you, every one of your favorite songs, and the loving voice of your spouse. Select your package now. Go ahead. I can't wait for you to hear again. Still there? Normally at this point, some people like to take a few moments before deciding to invest in this risk-free formula. So let's recap some important points. Question number 1. What's the secret ingredient of the product formula? To quickly explain this, This formula contains a natural compound of 29 nutrients and vitamins shown to repair your inner ear hair cells and improve your hearing. All you need to do is take one pill a day for at least 30 days and you'll improve your hearing and keep it that way for years to come. This formula works for anyone from 18 to 80 years old, whether you suffer from hearing loss because of age, loud noises, ear infections, or accidents. Question number 2, why haven't I heard of this before? The answer to this question will make you mad. This formula has been kept locked away from curious eyes by the big pharmaceutical companies. Only recently was the vow of secrecy broken to help people in need, and you are one of the lucky ones who get instant access to the full formula. Question number 3, will this formula work for me? Yes. So far, 96,623 people have used Sonufix and restored their hearing. Here are just some of the messages I get in my inbox every day. Richard, your formula is extraordinary. I stopped wearing my hearing aid and it keeps getting better and better. My husband was starting to have problems with his hearing too, and now it's like he's 20 years younger. Elaine, Oklahoma. 3 months ago, I had a car accident because of my hearing problem. Ironically, it made my hearing even worse, if possible. I was so scared. It's like I'm a new man now. I can't thank you enough for it. God bless you. Robert, California. When I started to go deaf, I was so depressed. I wouldn't even talk to my own family. They were all telling me it's normal to lose your hearing when you're 70, but it's damn hard to accept it when it's happening to you. I didn't think there was any chance to get my hearing back, but then I saw your video and I decided to try your formula. I just wanted to thank you for making me feel like myself again. Peter, Texas. Now think of all the hundreds of thousands of people that have used this formula ever since it was discovered. If the formula didn't work, it wouldn't still be used today. So try this formula for yourself and you'll discover how good it feels to be able to hear even the slightest noise around you. Question number 4. Why did you say this is a risk-free program again? You are getting a 60-day money-back guarantee that protects your investment 24/7. You have 2 full months to study the formula, try it out, share it with your friends, whatever you wish. If you're not completely happy with the results, just send me an email and I will give you a full refund. You can keep the formula and try it out again if you want. I won't ask for it back and I won't hassle you with any questions. All I want you to know is that it's up to you if you pay for it or not. Question number 4. How long will this formula be here on this website? Unfortunately, this may be the only chance you have to get Sonufix. I have been constantly harassed by lawyers threatening me with lawsuits if I don't take this video down. The multi-billion-dollar industry is losing a lot of money because of this natural formula. So you need to act now, as I can't promise this video will be up when you try to come back. Question number 5. I'm interested. Now what happens next? All you have to do is click on the Buy Now button below right now and you'll be instantly redirected to a secure order page where you'll have to enter your information and then we ship your package to the selected address. And after you've successfully tried the formula and restored your hearing, send me an email and let me know about your results. So go ahead and select your package now.